I'm ready.
Are you great? Okay, James, welcome back to Ask Us Anything. We have a 10-minute timer going, and we've just been asked a question without any preparation. This is quite a strange one. Should Christians be communists? What do you think to that?
Wow. Is that, again, you want to kind of follow up with further questions from the questioner?
Yeah.
So I suppose I guess this question may come from passages like chapters in Acts where it talks about the believers selling all their possessions and they were one in heart,
having everything in common.
Everything in common. Is there anywhere else that kind of way of life is advocated for in the scriptures?
I suppose as well, maybe even getting behind it is like the ideal of communism is like all in society on an equal footing, no one being oppressed by someone else, no one sort of being downtrodden, and there being sort of equality across the board. Maybe there's something there that's attractive when people hear about that kind of idea. That feels quite Christian. Sort of we're all sort of
equal,
dealt with justly, fairly, equal in society. Those sorts of things appeal.
The classic thing around communism is, on paper, it sounds like quite a nice situation to be in.
Yeah.
But in reality, what you have is a totalizing political ideology that coerces people into some form of equality, and the state becomes the saviour. Yeah,
that's the thing, isn't it? There's it because it is so totalizing and everything sort of delegated up to the state doing it. The ultimate power does still rest somewhere, and it's not really over to you out of the love and goodness of your heart to be kind to your neighbour, to love them as yourself, to bless them with your possessions and all of that. It's kind of the state requires something is done, so it must be done, and everyone is dealt with in that way. Very sort of it's strangely sort of heavy-handed, top-down, isn't it?
Yeah. It's mandated, or it's like a compulsory way of life.
And I guess that's why in history, communism has generally been the system behind a huge amount of suffering and death in the 20th century. The places who've actually tried full communism, right? We're not just talking about politics that leans a bit left. We're talking about communism. It's been behind, I don't know. I don't think I have the numbers to hand, James, but I think of Mao, Stalin. The sort of the track record isn't good, is it? And it's because it's enforced. It as you say, it relies on a political system and a human government state being a saviour. And Christianity works on a completely different basis, doesn't it? Of an internal heart transformation rather than something pressed on us from the outside. So in that sense, I guess no political system in and of itself is what Christians ought to be reaching for. We kind of make some peace with them for the sake of what we want to achieve in a society in a fallen world, but then none of them really match us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So where's the line then between... because there is an encouragement in the scriptures to be open-handed, even to your own life. It's just like your life is not your own.
Yeah.
And therefore we see the same pattern in terms of possessions and wealth and how we treat one another. Have you got a thought on where the line is between what is yours and what isn't? What's under your stewardship? What's your responsibility? Those kinds of things.
I guess the idea that we see in the New Testament about generosity, being a cheerful giver, putting others' needs ahead of our own, all of that, it does assume that the idea that you have stuff to give, whether it's your personal qualities, time, money, possessions, it does assume that all of those things aren't fictional, right? Which you could choose to gather them up, and the Lord constantly warns against that. I'm just in front of me at the moment, actually, just Matthew 6, where Jesus is saying, "Don't lay up for yourselves treasures on earth." And the appeal of something like of communism is to say, well, that's exactly what we're trying not to do. Like everything is sort of sacrificed to the state, and it will sort of distribute it as it sees fit. I think what Jesus assumes is that we're meant to brush up against that danger all the time and go, I have got a lot, and I could technically pile this up, but if I love the Lord and if I love my neighbour, I'm going to be generous with it. It's a little bit like even actually in Philippians 2, when we're told, here's Jesus in eternity. He's considering, what does it mean to have equality with God? And he doesn't go, well, I don't. It's nothing. I've given it all up. It's nothing. He goes, I have this. And with it, here is what I'm going to choose to do, which is love and serve and give of myself. So I think it's almost in the danger of brushing up against the attractiveness of possessions and hoarding stuff that the Lord does that work in us of turning us inside out and living for giving to others. So in a sense, that I think that line you're talking about, it's almost not about what's black and white, right and wrong, but it's about what's the posture of our heart as we deal with what is clearly ours. Yeah.
Yes, there's a respect. There's a respect for people's possessions, and we're to respect people's private property or whatever. All
Ten
that
Commandments:
kind
don't steal from your neighbour.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So there's all of that, and equally what we see is there's a generosity of heart in what we've been given, and of course this comes out of the gospel, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Because God extended the love that he had and the relationship that he had in the Trinity. He didn't need us. He doesn't need anything outside of himself, and yet he extends this grace and generosity to his creation, and we get to enjoy that. So and then that is primarily seen in the person of Jesus Christ. And that kind of, when you understand the gospel, you realize everything is a gift of God. Everything is God's grace in my life, and I don't want to hold on to this as if I'm the one who's engineered all this or somehow worked for it. It is all God's, and that shapes and transforms us then in how we live and how we use our time, our money, our possessions, whatever it is.
And that's the most radical transformation, isn't it? When people are saying, should I explore communism, or other people are saying, should I explore something kind of more right, far right or whatever, it's this desire to find the most radical solution to society's problems. And, maybe we're all tired of a mushy middle in politics and we want to reach for an extreme, like a radical option. The most radical transformation is the gospel of Jesus that changes people from the inside, not by pressing a system on from outside, but changes us internally. And I love something my pastor said a few times, which is you can give political leaders and political ideologies your vote, lend them your vote, but don't give them your heart. And I think that's a really helpful thing. Our heart's something that was given only to the Lord, and amazingly he transforms it to be like him, which is loving, giving, serving by the Spirit's power. Amazing.
Lovely.
We've actually got a minute and 3 seconds left.
Well, I think we can end there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was a good one to chat through, though. Thanks very much, James.
Lovely to chat to you again, Dan.
See you next time, I guess.
Bye.
Bye.